everybody. Welcome to another What Are You Playing episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's playing games with me tonight?
I am Blake Anglin. Nice to be here.
Welcome back.
First time, my name's Jack Meyers, and I'm happy to be here as well.
Welcome. It was like getting new people on the show, and you came on for a different type of episode.
Yeah, I know. I'm very excited to kind of see what comes up, what things we've all sort of done and whatnot.
I haven't done as
Down
much
to
as
the rabbit hole.
I would like to, but so this is the What Are You Playing for? What month are we in? August of 2021. I need to say that.
What year is it again?
It doesn't feel like 2021, does it?
But it also feels like it's forever 2020. So, you know, we're just
Just a loop of 2020
It
over and
doesn't
over.
feel like we're almost done with 2021. And I'm like, what? What? We're still in the pandemic. We're still like, it doesn't-
Oh, yeah.
like we're
This
on
can't be right.
Yeah, I actually listened to last month's episode, and you guys were talking about, like, oh, it looks like things are getting better. And it's like, oh, we're going to go to a movie theater. And I was like, man, that sounded nice. I wish I had taken the opportunity to do that, because now I'm like, nope, not going out.
Yeah, Delta slapped that around.
I work in it. Like, I work in retail, so I've been around people this entire time.
Mm.
So I'm just very much like, okay. So I'm a little different. Like, I respect everyone who's like, you know, I'm hiding, I'm being safe. Like, I'm glad that you're like that. If I didn't have to work in it, I think I would be that way. But since I've had no choice but to work in it, I'm so just like, I don't know. I can't think of the right word. I'm so like desensitized to it.
No, I can get that. And I also do retail. I think there are other things I would do first. I just know, like, a movie theater is one of the hardest ones, which sucks, because I really want the new Ryan Reynolds movie. I can't remember it.
Free Guy.
Player? Oh, Free Guy, yeah. I was really bummed, because, like, man, that sounds really cool. And I'm just a big Ryan Reynolds stan, so I was, like, super hyping. Now I'm
Yeah,
just
that
like, I
sounds
just
good.
can't justify it. So I'm like, I'll just wait, and I'll see it when it comes out. But I'm really excited for that one.
Actually, speaking of movies, I've seen 2 movies since I recorded this last time I done a What Are You Playing? I saw Black Widow, which I know now is a month old, but I saw Black Widow.
Okay.
Man, I that movie makes me so sad and so happy at the same time, because I as anyone listening to the show knows, I have a huge crush on Scarlett Johansson. And to know that she's never going to probably play Black Widow again, then when I heard she's suing them, I'm like, yeah, we're never seeing her again. It makes me so sad.
Yeah.
That's so strange. No one
still-
that I know has a crush on Scarlett Johansson.
Nope. Yeah, you're the first.
Probably the only
actually,
one.
ever.
Oh, God. Yeah, I've seen most of her movies. So,
Yeah. Hearing that episode again from last month was kind of funny, because I think you guys talked about Black Widow a little bit, and then
Yes.
like I had heard it after all the, you know, lawsuit stuff had come out, and it left a different like tone over it. It's like, oh man, they don't even know what's coming.
Cats
No,
go
'cause-
all over the proceedings.
we recorded that like right after it came out. I had tickets that night to go, or the next day to
Yeah.
go see it. So now I've seen it, and so I don't want to go on spoiler. We can talk about a little bit of spoilers, just not too much. But again, that's a really good film. Like, even beside the fact that I'm just, you know, she's awesome and she's hot, it was just a fun movie. Like, I was entertained. I enjoyed it. It just makes me upset. Like, this should have been at the end of Phase 3, not Spider-Man. Or it should have been somewhere in Phase 3, not Spider-Man Far From Home. Or Far From Home should have been, I think, in Phase 4. But
Yeah, that's
neither here nor there. That's just my complaint as a guy who's been watching all those movies one after another. But hey.
I mean, it sounds like it's a very common opinion, which I mean makes a lot of sense considering just you know what happens to her character, and then it's like,
Yeah,
"Woo,
I
this
mean-
is fun. All right, goodbye."
You know, they get rid of her
Yeah.
at Endgame, and then like this leads into Infinity War with the after credit scene, and it takes place after Civil War, before Infinity War. Like, why did this come out? You know, after everything has happened, when you're moving on. Like, every other movie that we're gonna get from now on for MCU is gonna be moving on after the blip, after the snap. Not something that we're not gonna get movies that take place. I feel like Shang-Chi is gonna take place after everything, and they ain't gonna go back in time again. So I don't get that.
Yeah, it was pretty troubled development.
sorry, go ahead.
So I mean, yeah, sorry. I mean, the movie was delayed so many times. You know, I'm
Yeah.
sure that kind of played into the timing of it.
But it was never supposed to come out until after, when they announced it, at least the first time before COVID. It wasn't supposed to come out till the earliest was 2020. So it was always
Yeah.
Phase 4, I think.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I was
probably
kind of
right.
wondering.
Well, I think because Disney was being stupid and didn't want to put her in a movie as a starring role, thinking it would sell.
Oh yeah, that was a thing for a long time, and then they finally like just got off their cold feet, and it was like, hey, this was great. Well, could have been better. You'd done this a little differently.
I think Ghost in the Shell in 2017, where she stars in that movie, really pushed her to like,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, okay, she can head a movie. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen that or not, but that's a decent film.
I have
I
not
haven't
heard.
seen it. I haven't seen Black Widow either, to be fair. So
You should. It's
Yeah.
it's also just a very, even if you're not a big Marvel fan, it's a very good film. I felt.
I did see Suicide Squad though. It was the first movie I'd seen in theaters in probably 3 years. So it was nice. It was empty. There was only about a dozen people there, so it was a good experience.
Did you see that, Jack, by any chance?
Black Widow or
Suicide Squad?
No, I actually haven't seen either. I was going to talk about the fact that I actually am a person who's not a big Marvel fan, not particularly by choice, but like the last one I watched was Ant-Man. So I have not seen a single Marvel movie just since Ant-Man because I'm just like, it's such a I'm like, part of me wants to because it seems kind of fun, and I'm also like, that's a lot of time. But I did watch. I know, but I'm a person who's like, I want to watch all of it. Like for example, Star Wars, the animated one. I want to watch all of it. No, the old animated one.
Oh, Clone Wars and Rebels?
Yeah, Clone Wars I want to watch, but I know the first few seasons are really rough, and it's like
the first season of Clone Wars, tough. You just have to do other things, and you'll be like, edit a podcast while you're watching it. I mean, that's what some people want to do. But Clone Wars, yes, it sucks at first. Like the first season is very childish, and the second season it's still a little stupid. But when that show picks up and it gets into its rhythm, it is some great TV watching, and it makes me so upset that Clone Wars didn't come out, that this show didn't come out in between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, because it really shows Anakin become Vader. You see it happen where in the movie he just go, Padme's gonna die, I'll kill everyone I love.
I think they really did a service to Anakin with that entire show, because I've seen scenes about Anakin that I'm like, wow, I want to watch this, and then I hear there's even more amazing content about, spoiler for a very old show, Darth Maul, and I'm like, dang, that sounds really cool to like learn about Darth Maul more. It's just this large, big bad evil guy, and that seems really cool.
His whole story gets wrapped up in Clone Wars and Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
They wrap up his entire story and they put that character away, and they give him a very faithful, and like he got what he deserved. He got his story that he deserved after Phantom Menace.
Good.
And it's, oh man, is it good? Rebels is also really good, but the first season of Rebel also is a little tough. But then it gets really, but it's not as tough as Clone Wars. Clone Wars first season is the rough as a mall.
Is anyone watching The Bad Batch?
I tried.
I
like it.
The first season will be rough, and then it'll even out. It's a theme, I guess.
For Bad Batch, it was more of I couldn't figure out when the hell they released them weekly. So like I would look and it'd be on there on a Wednesday. I'd look the next week Wednesday, it wouldn't be there. So I'm like, I would just get confused.
Like, fuck this! I can't keep up with it.
So my solution is I'm gonna wait till the whole season drops and then just binge it, and I'll watch it that way.
Yeah, it
was irritating me. So, but no, the show's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with the show. It was just me where since I watched Clone Wars and Rebels after they had finished and they were episode. It was hard for me to go and just watch them like one 20-minute episode. I'm like, okay, I'm ready for more. I'm more. So I'm just waiting now. But no,
we as a society have moved past weekly episodes. Like what was it? WandaVision, I guess, was the last show. It was like, it's 2021. Why the fuck do I have to wait a week for my television shows now? This is ridiculous.
It's good for the show to keep the show alive in people's memories and people talking about, like what Loki, WandaVision, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier did is we kept talking about them for 6 weeks. Not us as Game by Mom, but people in general. I mean, I went to work and asked people about it. We would talk each week about it until it ended. So that I think is good for TV. But yes, I agree with you. I like my binging.
It just feels like a different age, like Game of Thrones era TV, where like true water cooler television, I guess you'd call it. And it's just like, you do lose that with just the dumps of seasons and whatnot.
I think a format though that kind of because there's always a counter, but I think one that is that right now and is actually one I did watch because I knew you guys are Marvel fans and I wanted to watch it even though I hadn't seen other ones. I did watch the first episode of What If. I don't know if anyone else did.
I haven't, but what do you think? It seems to be fairly negative from what I've kind of seen.
Which I was surprised about. Again, as a person who's not a big Marvel fan, but it was very nice just by coincidence that the first episode they did was basically entirely encompassed in a movie I had seen, but not the TV show of the character. I can't remember her name.
Peggy Carter, yeah.
I never watched that show, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. The animation was very stylized, and I think at times it was a little choppy, but it wasn't that bad. If anything, something I've never seen one comment on was the pacing is wild. Like the rate at which dialogue is just delivered is just really fast. And I don't think it's too much of a spoiler, but like it's because they do the entire basically movie except the first part. The entire movie besides where they up to the injection. So basically it's like, yeah, you have a whole back half of that movie in 25 minutes. and so it's just
Yeah.
constant boop boop boop. But I like besides that and some little cringy writing. I thought it was really fun, and it was just neat to see.
It worked.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it too. Like I watched it not because I probably have said this. I know I've said this before in the show. I'm a huge fan of Captain America: The First Avenger. I think that movie is great, and to see like a different version of that movie, of what if could happen if Steve Rogers didn't become Captain America and Peggy Carter became Captain America essentially, or Captain Britain. But it's I thought it was very well done. The animation's fine. Like I see why people don't like it, but it's fine.
Yeah.
It's the voice acting that I've heard, I think, the most criticism about. Does that stick out to either you guys?
Two of the actors, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I also did it weird. I was kind of jumping back and forth between the audio being Japanese and English, which, man, let me tell you, the Japanese voice acting's really good. I was like watching it. I watched like maybe a third of it, and then I was like, this is too weird. I went back, but man, I was like really into it for a little bit. But again, that pacing kept coming up even in Japanese. I'm like, well, maybe it's because I'm in Japanese. This pacing feels fast. I switched to English.
Something
I was like,
lost in translation here.
No, it is very. Yeah, it's very Steve, I'm excited for that dance. Me too, Peggy. Hey, guys, we gotta go. And I'm like, what? Whoa.
Hey, when you take a 2-hour movie and put it in a 20-minute episode, almost, so
yeah, you got to make some concessions, I guess.
But yeah, I mean, I also love Scrawny Steve, and I was like, there's never an opportunity where I'm gonna watch a long segment of Scrawny Steve because it looks a little jank back then, and it's like maybe they could do better, but it's like no, yeah, it's just weird to go back. But it worked really well in that, and so I was like, woo, I can see Scrawny Steve, I can just see a big
Scrawny
tall
Steve
lady.
Always creeped me out just a little bit.
yeah,
Uncanny Valley effect.
Yeah, I very much see that, and I get it, but it was like just fun to see it, and then like big buff lady, nothing. What can hate about that, And so yeah, I liked it. I'm excited to see more. I know in the trailer one of the clips was like has a zombie thing, and I know that's been written in the comics, and I'm like I'm really excited just to see that because that sounds fun.
It won't be anything like the comics.
I do have a question. Do they like transport some of his like iconic lines onto Peggy? I've heard like some shots are kind of recreated. Does she have like a I could do this all day moment? You know what I mean? Something like that.
I don't think so, but it's very much like what it does in the episode, which also I think was in the movie too, is how a woman can't do anything, and she's like, and she's proven that she can do it, and it kind of has some jokes like he makes a comment, well, you could be wearing the Captain America suit and just go and selling war bonds. I mean, there's some little stuff like that I laughed at.
Yeah, they also have a joke about like Bucky's arm at some point.
I hate that.
Oh yeah.
I was editing while I was watching.
It was during the train scene. Like she grabs his arm and he's like, whoa, you almost could have ripped my arm off. And I was like, I see what you did there. But yeah, no, I don't think she has any like iconic lines, but definitely iconic moments like that, the train scene and like seeing her like thing, and then it's like, oh, that's kind of neat.
Cool.
Was that Hugo Weaving that did the voice of Red Skull, or was that somebody else? I'm assuming
not
it wasn't
in the show. Ross Marquand, who did a Red Skull in like Endgame and
the Walking Dead guy.
Right. Yeah.
At least he was on Walking Dead. Who knows? I don't know if he's still on or not, but he was at the time.
I think he is. He played Aaron in The Walking Dead.
I fell off that show.
Yeah, same.
That I like the show was good, but when you talk about depressing, woo, that show just made me like, nope, I'm good. I'm done.
When they started pulling like just audience, it went from good writing to just like tricking the audience over and over again, and that's that always kind of takes me out of it, I
fell off the season after. God, I can't remember his name. The guy with the bat is introduced, Negan, and that's what it broke me when he killed. I think he killed Sasha, and it was around that time. Then Eugene turned against them, and I'm just like, I'm done, and I just stopped watching.
Yeah, this is just depressing.
Yeah, it's. I also never have watched Game of Thrones yet either. I own the majority of it, and I have access to HBO Max, but I've never. That's one show I've only watched the first season, and then everything I've seen, I'm just like, I don't know if I can.
I still don't know if I'm ready to dig into that trauma, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones. Rough ending.
I read the 5 book. I enjoyed the whole series he wrote.
That's good, yeah, because it will be the whole series he wrote.
It is the whole series.
Yeah,
there's no book 6 or 7 coming.
Yeah, there's no. That's it. We need to resign ourselves to that.
And another thing I want to wrap up and show that we talked about last but finished is Loki finished. Blake? Did you watch Loki?
I followed along with like some weekly reviews, so I have a general idea of what happened, but I didn't watch it.
Okay. You should, Jack, even though I know you don't follow Marvel, you should watch Loki. It won't make any sense, but that's okay. It doesn't make any sense to even people who watched it. So
I think that is on. Like Loki is one of the shows. There's an exception also. I did watch all of Luke Cage. I don't know why Luke Cage. I was like, that seems neat, and it was fun. MCU, though. Oh, you're right. It's not. Well, don't even.
It was supposed to be, but it's not.
The first Daredevil had some callbacks.
I like it a lot, but Loki is one of the shows that I would like to watch. And I think maybe that one would be fun to just go in blind and just be like, because, you know, I've seen a little bit of Loki enough to be like, I know who he is. But I think getting all of that, and based on some of the stuff I've heard, like including on your guys' last episode, would just be wild to be like, oh, what is happening?
It's good. All you need to know is Avengers 1 happened, Loki got captured, Endgame, they rewrote time, he got a stone, and he warped out. It's all you need to know going in, and you can enjoy the movie or the show, because it's really its own thing. Yes, it's going to lead big into what's coming in phase, my opinion, phase 4, 5, and 6, or at least 4 and 5. But you'll enjoy it either way. Like, I think it could still be enjoyable.
Was it a little weird dealing with a Loki who had basically lost like all the character progression that we knew from the movies? You know, because this is an older Loki, right? Who had not kind of had that.
This is the Loki from Avengers. So before everything happened.
So before he kind of became a anti-hero / good guy, whatever he is by Infinity War.
That's what I thought. I thought they do a very good job of making him grow in these 6 episodes, and he grows for a different reason.
Yeah, that seems like a tough thing to pull off.
Tom Hiddleston is a great actor, and he pulls it off really well. And I'm assuming you know who one of the like surprise characters that was in this, and she's amazing too.
Right. It's like I see it. She's a variant of Loki, correct?
Yeah. Oh, it's something else. Like I came into the show going, okay, what the hell? I wasn't that interested, and on the 3 that we have gotten so far, this is my favorite. I haven't rewatched it yet because I'm waiting for a certain podcast to catch up so I can then record those episodes. But we're not done we're still finishing up. We just recorded Endgame last month, so we're getting close to wrapping up the MCU, but I'm not there yet. So I don't want to get into phase 4 until I finish phase 3.
Is this still the games my mom found, or are we on a movies my mom found? Okay.
No, it's everything. If it didn't cost me more money, I would make multiple podcasts. But
things my mom found.
I was gonna say, I mean, it also seems fun to just watch Owen Wilson in something. I just looked up on IMDb. I think the last thing I saw Owen Wilson in was Community in 2010, and it's like, wow, I haven't seen him.
Oh my god, yeah, he is in Community.
Yeah, and from what I remember, I liked him in that. And I mean, I love him as a meme, but I'm sure as an actor, he's been fine in other stuff I've seen him. So it'd be fun to see him like, will be 11 years later and be like, oh, he's great in this too. Of course he is. Everyone says
he does a good job in this. It's a more serious role than some of the movies I've seen him in, but he still does a good job in this, and you'll enjoy it.
More serious than his Zoolander role?
I've never seen Zoolander. And I plan to keep it that way.
Did you see
fantastic.
Did you see the behind the scenes clip with him and Tom talking about Macbeth? It's really sad and funny because like Tom Hiddleston, they were like when they were on set, but they were kind of getting to know each other a little bit more. He's like, oh yeah, you know, like do you know any like Shakespeare? He's like, oh, I love, and replies, oh yeah, I love Shakespeare. And he's like, oh, what's your favorite one? He's like, oh, I love Macbeth. And he's like, oh, have you ever played in Macbeth? And Owen Wilson laughs. He's like, I've never, no, like in high school.
Larry, I'm in DuckTales.
Yeah, he's like, I don't think I've ever, you know, I don't want to be in a movie with Adam Sandler, and you know, he's like, none of my former coworkers would ever even really ask me that question, so it's kind of weird to talk about it.
He's no Laurence Olivier, exactly, as much as I love him.
Oh gosh, but like seeing him in this serious role sounds great, and it's like I know he's done other serious roles, but I don't think they've ever really been super prominent unless you're, you know, like we're a big fan of him. So
is Loki like a super serious role for him? Again, I haven't seen it.
But it's more serious than like Wedding Crashers or something.
Yeah, okay.
It's kind of that comic character a little bit. So, well, you know,
it's good though.
It's definitely
WandaVision. I think you could enjoy too, but if you're someone that's not into Marvel, I would recommend Loki just to go into something that's just bizarre, but it's contained enough that you'll understand who this character is, what's happening with this character, and you'll still enjoy it, I think.
Yeah, okay. And up to the point I've seen, I feel like WandaVision being about 2 characters who I know basically nothing about would be like, it wouldn't get that emotional pull as much as like, oh, not Wanda.
The show will still do it for you just because the show... I feel like Falcon and Winter Soldier is the one that is the least of the 3 that's come out, my least favorite so far. Still good, but just the one that I didn't enjoy as much. That's because I just didn't like where they went with it. But
I just didn't connect with it. I tried it. I couldn't really get into it.
No, it has some issues.
Well, was there anything else you guys watched this last month?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I've been watching The Expanse. Have either of you guys watched that? Seen this?
That's the
great show.
Amazon Prime show, right?
Yes.
It's like a science fiction show, but it's like actually realistic science fiction.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would say it strives for kind of realism, but it's also got like alien molecules, and I mean, they definitely don't mind. It's kind of like Mass Effect-ish. It very similar tone.
In my opinion, that's realistic someday. I mean,
right? Yeah, I mean, it's not just completely outlandish, and there's a lot of like in-world physics and that kind of thing, so it does strive for like a sense of realism.
Yeah, it's not like somebody goes out in space and after their starship blew up and they bring her back in and she's still alive somehow. Yeah,
it's not Firefly, like for sure.
And they say the quantum complicator is reverse the inflow to bring you back. You're like, oh, okay, yes.
There is some of that, some just techno jargon. But it's so good so far.
I've heard a lot of good things about it. I heard it was dark though.
Man, it's so I'm halfway through season 3. I think there's 5 seasons out, and I mean it's got some intense moments, but it's not particularly dark. I wouldn't say so far, at least.
I'm waiting for it to end. I watch most shows once they end, so then I can watch them all in my own time.
You're just a binger.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But no, Expanse is definitely on my list of something I want to check out.
Yeah, highly recommend it so far.
I'm waiting for it to end.
But I'm more of a gamer. I don't watch a lot of things. Like I'll just rewatch 30 Rock and Community over and over until I die.
Yep, Scrubs for me. I've probably watched all of Scrubs like 9 times, and it's like I haven't in a long time. I think I burnt myself out, but man, I've watched that show. I
just loop. It was like that and Parks and Rec, and I just loop those shows over and over, and then I'll do that. Turn to dust one day.
I did watch all of Big Bang Theory in a few months, and then I went back, and for some reason I wanted more, and then me and my wife started re-watching it, and we got about to season 5, and I'm like, we need to stop this, and then we moved on to other stuff. But otherwise, I try not to go back to a show too quickly. I like to put time in between it.
And to be fair, when I rewatch a show like that, I also rewatch it how you watch a show when you're like editing or doing podcasts. It's more like a background thing. I'm not like I've seen Scrubs enough. I don't need to like watch it and be like, JD, give me that joke I'm waiting for. I need to watch your face as you deliver it to laugh and enjoy it. I'm just like, as I'm off cooking or whatever.
Yeah, right. TV is often background noise for me anyway. If I'm doing something, it's usually going to be gaming or writing or something.
Me is gaming.
Yeah.
That's not game as much as I should. As much as a guy who records a podcast, I really don't game a lot. It's only stuff I do for the show.
Well, I mean, that's you only got so much time, man.
Yeah.
I know how that goes.
Is there any games you've been playing besides ones for podcasts?
Nope.
By chance this month? Nope. No, all right. I had to ask, just try.
Like the point of the show, I don't. It was because my co-host Mike, he would play a lot of different stuff, so that's where this came from. But no, I don't. I only play stuff for the show. I try to every so often. I tell myself I'm going to play something that's not for the show, but then I tell myself I can't. Like even if I do, I'm still going to find a way to record about it. So
how do you choose your games exactly? What goes into that?
I'm curious about that.
Previously, it's changing right now because of what happened recently. But previously, what we would do is we would with my co-host before we would put together 20 episodes in a season, and then we each would pick X amount of picks. Like when it was 2 of us, it'd be 10. When it was 3 of us, I think we each would do like six, and then we would do the other stuff. We would just kind of fill in with different random things that we were all interested in doing. So it would change. Now that things are a little different, I'm doing a little. I'm just kind of putting together right now. I'm not sure yet. But
what game is on like if you could just play any game and have all the infinite time to do it and wasn't for podcasting that's out right now, it could be old, new, what would you play right now? I'm just curious.
A good question.
One game that I've been meaning to play that I have on my freaking Steam installed on my computer is Time Spinner. It's a Metrovania game.
I think I've heard of that one.
Control time.
Ooh.
It's cool. I got stuck and I have to look up what to do, and I just haven't done it.
I love Metroidvanias. I just finished one up that I want to talk about on this episode. I was excited about.
Sure. What were you playing?
It's called Ender Lilies.
What is this?
Oh God! So
I think I heard of this one as well recently.
So good. Have either of you guys played Hollow Knight?
You know what it is?
I've played a little bit. I've dabbled in it.
To me, Hollow Knight is up there with like. I feel like we need a better term than Metroidvania. Can we create one of those before we move on, so I don't have to use that fucking stupid term?
Okay, yeah. Let's just. I've heard this a lot. Let's just solve it right here, the three of us. Let's do it. Break it down.
Figure this out.
I think it's a good term.
It's stupid. It's awful. It's
okay. We have
exploration, action. Help me out here. Metroidvania, like, if you don't know what those are, then it doesn't tell you what it is. Like action platformer.
In all seriousness, though, how
adventure.
do people don't know at this point. Like that term, as much as we may like or dislike it, has become so, I think, in like gaming discussion.
sure.
It's kind of like saying it's a Souls-like, you know, it's kind of like that. It's like, unless, you know, even if you didn't have that, I don't know how else you'd really describe it in a concise, fun.
I think Mike's got one for us.
We live in this world where we're in it because of, again, Facebook and everything else, where like certain things to me are normal, like Metrovania. I was talking to someone, I'm going to go see Suicide Squad. They're like, that's a movie? And then I realized there are people out there who are not like me and us who just don't even realize like what's going, you know, aren't aware of movies or aren't aware of
pop culture.
Yeah, I'm pretty in that for movies and TV shows.
And I didn't think about that when I said Suicide Squad. I'm like, I should maybe explain this really quick.
There's a little context here.
But yeah, no. So I completely can believe that there are people out there who have just are unaware of certain things of that nature. Because the person's not even aware, like Marvel. Like, we were talking about Marvel, and they're like, "What? What's this?" And I'm like, "How?" I'm like, how do you not know who Captain America is? Like, how? But again, I live in this world and breathe in this world. So sorry, you were talking about Ender Lilies, which I'm watching right now.
So I'm just gonna call them. We're gonna call them RPPs, role playing platformers. And that's what.
Oh, that's. Oh, feels like. All right, never mind. Okay, keep going. I'll shut up.
So Hollow Knight is, to me, like one of the best games ever made, and one of the top tier RPPs up there with like Super Metroid, Symphony of the Night.
That's some high praise there, buddy.
It is. It's one of my favorite genres too. Ender Lilies was right up there. So the artwork and music are phenomenal, even better than Hollow Knight, I would say, which is already top tier. And just I've got the soundtrack on my Spotify, which I rarely do, and just blew me away. It was so good, and it had some like quality. So for those of you who don't know, I guess we would describe this genre as typically 2D games that are going to involve action and platforming. Typically a lot of backtracking as you gain items that give you both combat and exploration tools. You kind of go back and explore some kind of open world. Hollow Knight included some Souls-like elements, wherein like an experience system or money system where if you die, you have to backtrack to your corpse to retrieve that. Ender Lilies was similar in terms of like the combat is pretty tough. So, you know, even basic enemies can kill you with just a few hits. But it's about this. I won't get too deep into the plot, but basically you play as this a girl in this like just blighted landscape where this rain has come down and turned everything into like zombies and monstrosity. Play this like shining white priestess who purifies these people, and by doing so, they become kind of your weapons. So you purify at night. She doesn't fight. You just like summon these various creatures as your abilities, and some of them give you a double jump and a wall climbing and whatnot. And as you do that, you kind of just go through and clear this giant world. But it was just so good. I ended up pouring about 40 hours into it over the course of a few weeks, and just I hadn't fallen into a game like that in a long time.
It was cool to really cool. From what I'm watching right now, it's on my Steam wish list now.
Yeah, I realized. I looked it up. The where I had heard this, funnily enough, was on a YouTuber. His name's Iron Pineapple. He's pretty great. But he has a series where he just loves Souls games, and I played once again 9 Souls-like games you've never heard of, and he did include Ender Lilies in this, and he just gave it so much praise. He said it like he's like, I can't believe more people haven't talked about this because it's so good.
And it's good because it's more accessible than a lot of both RPPs and Souls-likes. Yeah, we're making this the thing because. Like you don't, so there's no death. Basically, just sends you right back to the last checkpoint. You keep everything, experience items, whatever you would have gained, and fast travel from basically anywhere. You can. There's a leveling system wherein, as you level up, you get stronger. So you can the game Hollow Knight and some of those games are kind of they're really hard. And this was hard, but gave you that accessibility tools built in to basically overcome it with enough persistence, and included like great quality of life stuff, like letting you know when each room was cleared and like possible paths, which Hollow Knight is, or a lot of these games are known for being pretty secret heavy and this was so, but it also gave you the tools to know. By the time I finished it, I knew I had cleared everything and was ready to finish the game at 100%. So that was really appreciated.
Yeah, it's someone who loves. Sorry, go ahead.
You're good. I've been talking a lot, but I like when games do this. Like, it makes me happy.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think that's don't mean to keep bringing up Souls, but I do love a lot of Dark Souls games, and one of my like flaws personally with it is that there are those secrets, and those secrets are usually really cool, but they're really for me at least, like, just basically just go hit walls. And it's like, oh, I hit this wall
Yeah,
that looks
yeah.
identical to the other walls, and it's there. And their counter, like, fixed that. Was like, oh, well, we can have an in-game player message system, which creates for funny experiences of fake ones and real ones. But then, like, as time went on, it's like, oh, some of those, or if you don't have online, which, now is less common, I think, especially for more modern games.
Yeah.
But, like, you just don't have that. So you're like, well, you just never find them unless you're, like, really hitting every wall that you think might have a secret. So it's nice that a game would have sort of a fix for that, because I do love.
Since you brought up Dark Souls, that is probably one of my best and worst experiences in gaming ever. Was playing the first Dark Souls on PS3 years after it came out. I mean, it would have been, let's say, 4 years ago probably that I did this.
Oh yeah,
or maybe 5, something like that. So I played it, and the way I played it is I would watch a YouTube video that told me what to do, watched what they did, so I knew what I was getting into of an area. Then I would also listen to a podcast called Watch Out for Fireball. They did a whole thing, bonfire side chat, talking about Dark Souls. So they give me the lore about an area and what they did, and then I would go and do the area also at the same time that I'm doing this other stuff. And I had some of the just amazing experiences with a game. And I also had, like, I always had one story. I went to meet my wife for lunch at work. And I came in and I'm all sad. She's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, nothing wrong. "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I can't get through Sen's Fortress." She's like, "Really?"
And I'm like, unload. You're like, "Stupid maps," and they're just like, "Pat, you're saying a lot of words right now that don't have any meaning to me." But okay,
it's fine. Just know that, like, I mean, and I remember she looked at me. She's like, "Why are you playing this?" I'm like, "Because it's amazing."
I don't know.
I was curious. You said you played it 4 years ago. Did you play the original or the remastered?
It was the original.
Oh,
the remaster hadn't come out yet when I was playing.
Okay. Yeah, because it came out in October 2018. So I was like, it's real close.
No, it was before that. So yeah,
that would have been wild to be like, you didn't know the remaster, so it's the original. And someone's like, "Yeah, you do the remaster." Like, no, I could have.
It was something else though. It was an experience that really, like. And also, I did what I do in every RPG. When I got to a certain point in Dark Souls 1, there's a painting you can go into where you can level and level and level. And if you do that, the game goes from being a hard RPG to I was overpowered as all hell because I sat there for like a week just leveling every day and just put a podcast on and just leveled for hours. I talk on the phone.
I play every Souls game.
Well, Dark Souls 2, the enemies only respawn 12 times.
Yeah, that's
so in my game,
there
weren't any enemies anymore. They all disappeared somehow.
Can you use is that the one with the bonfire aesthetic? Is that 2 or 3? There's one where you can basically reset an area and make it a little bit harder.
That's, I think, 3. Because if I remember correctly, in 2 doesn't have that, but in 2, maybe 2, I can't. It's been a long time since I played 2, but I know in 2, the 2 is also like the bastard child of the series, even though it's a good game. But in 2, the enemies only respawn 12 times. So if you are having issue with a boss, or if you want to be cheap, like some people were, you can just fight everything 12 times, kill it, reset, keep all your experience, and just move on. And the game's nice and clean. A lot of my areas were empty. There were no enemies, nothing. It was just empty. I just run around. It was great.
Dark Souls 2, that was the first time that I actually experienced that mechanic, and I was late in Dark Souls 2. I can't remember the area, but it was so confusing because I kept dying and I kept doing the loop, and suddenly there was like 1 or 2 very basic enemies for that area that weren't there, and I was like,
"Yeah,
what's happening?" And then I learned way later, and I was like, "Oh."
Same. I found out.
I learned that in the first area, yeah, because I'm a farmer. I will just like if your game's not going to be easy, I'm going to make it easy by making it hard on myself by farming for hours and hours at the beginning.
I love podcasts for that reason, because you can just put a podcast on and play games and just farm things. So, Jack, have you been playing anything else that we should talk lately this month?
Yes, I have quite a list.
Nice.
And I think if I'm going to say this right now, it's just the only thing, if I ever get to yell anything into a crowd of people, Xbox Game Pass, whatever it's called, it's great. Yeah. It's very much worth the money, especially if you play on PC. It can be a little buggy, but they finally, I think, iron out a lot of the stuff with the computer app, which is great. And I tried the streaming this month on computer, and it was amazing. Like, I've never had a streaming experience be so flawless, and
it works well on mobile too. I've been playing Games Pass on my phone, and
even better.
I played a Halo 5 multiplayer match on my phone. It was just ridiculous that this technology exists. I know, just the Games Pass app.
There was one. I did play a little Dead by Daylight on it. Like, I played 1 or 2 rounds, and that was oddly enough the worst one. Like, but it was not comparable to other things. I don't know why that one in particular. Because
it was Dead by Daylight.
Well, yes. Besides that fact, as a person who's been in that community, I understand, respect, and agree with that joke, sadly. But yeah, everything
It's a
else.
good game. I don't want to make it sound like I'm not. It just, I played it and I remember getting massacred by the psychopath because I just wasn't good at it and my friends getting irritated. So.
It'd be like that.
Well, yeah. No, if you go in with friends, your friends better be like, all right, you're probably gonna die, and I'm okay with that. That makes that way better.
Yeah, they
But
weren't okay with it.
Yeah, that's lame friend, hot take. But yeah, I have been dabbling. I dabble with it a lot because I was just curious, and I was so excited. I downloaded like the old version, which you had to like go to a Microsoft page and like download a client because I was so excited. It didn't work very well back then, but like this, it was just amazing, and it's still in beta. And it only is in like half the countries that Game Pass is currently available in, and it's just surprisingly good. So I mean, I'll throw that out. Blinks the Time Cat is the complete opposite of that, and I was really sad because I was really hoping I'd go back and experience that game and be like, oh, this will be fun. It was not fun. Blinks the Time
I've
Cat.
never even heard of this.
It was Xbox, the original Xbox's answer to Sonic and Mario. Initially, it was
What's
just
this
cute
game called?
cat.
Oh, wow.
Blinks the Time Cat.
Or Time?
It was basically a cat with a vacuum cleaner who
Oh,
goes
it's
around.
Blink.
Blinks, yeah.
Blink's the Time Sweeper.
The time.
Oh,
the
Time
cat.
Sweeper. Excuse me. I don't know where I'm getting Time Cat from. But yeah, goes around, sucks up things.
Is he a cat?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So he is technically a time cat.
He's a space cat, though, which the plot seems more fun. Like, the opening cutscene was wild, and I was like, whoa, I didn't even know. And then I got to the gameplay, and it was instantly like, oh, this is old. And, like the camera's all inverted. You can't control it at all. And it's like, oh, it was an experience. So I was bummed out about.
There are so many good games on Xbox that I really want to replay.
Oh,
but
yeah.
there's not an Xbox emulator.
Yes, I know.
And I have an
haven't
Xbox behind me. Do I have the cords? No. Do I have controllers? No, but I have the Xbox itself. But because I like
You don't
like
have the
being able to
Duke
emulate.
hanging around anywhere?
Oh man, all Dukes nowadays, except like the new USB ones, they're all very sad. I've bought several, and every time I'm like, "Wow, you barely work, friend. It's okay. You've done
Yeah,
your
why put yourself through that?
No, I own so many. Like I have a bunch of Xbox games behind me also, but man, there are some games that I like. Breakdown is one example of an Xbox game that I have wanted to put on the show forever, but I can't play it legit because the game is hard and I suck. And I don't think the game is out there in any. I don't think it ever got re-released.
Did you call it Breakdown?
Breakdown for original Xbox, and I'm pretty sure it never got re-released at all. I mean, maybe it was on the. Okay, no, it was on the Xbox Game Store, the marketplace. You can buy it now, but I need. Okay, so yeah, you can buy it on 360. I don't know if it's on Xbox One, but it's on 360. But it's a really cool first-person action game that I really want to put on the show. But in order for me to put on the show, I need to be able to emulate it so I can actually beat it. Because when I played this game back in the day, I could not do it.
Do you guys remember Brute Force, an original Xbox game? Yes.
Like, the Halo Killer, remember?
Is that what it was?
Oh no! I have vague memories. I'm looking at this box art, and it's like bringing back something.
I unironically loved that game.
I own it. It's behind me on that shelf.
Awesome.
You can't see.
That's amazing.
Never played it. But no, Breakdown is a super interesting game that makes like the day when I finally can find an Xbox emulator and find stuff like that. That's the day that the game goes on the show if I can find suckers. So.
I will be there day one. I have an emulator up to everything and every game up until PS2, and then nothing else. Like there's other ones that work better, like 3DS, but that's not as interesting to me. But yeah, Xbox is the one that it's like I would happily trade half of that for just an Xbox emulator.
I'm surprised,
and they're getting there. They're getting there, but it's just not there yet. And like it makes bad. Playing a lot of Fusion Frenzy because that's on the streaming. That's on the streaming, and so that was fun to just boot up Fusion Frenzy on my desktop and play it, and it was all clean. And I was like, "Oh, this is nice. I want more."
It's a shame they don't have Fusion Frenzy 2, though. That's the one I have the memories of.
Oh,
I own that too on 360. Never played it, but I own it.
I have to disagree with you with that. You can post it maybe on your handle for this for Games of Mom Pad, but I did share an image from Brute Force that gives me nightmares.
Oh.
I don't like that. I don't know what's going on, but he scares me.
Oh, and speaking of stuff from a long time ago, I've been watching Psych. I got through 2 more seasons of Psych.
I've never seen it.
That's how I was. I finished season 3 and 4, I think, since the last time I recorded, where people made a joke that I was in early 2000s in a time capsule. But it's a show about 2 guys that are detectives or psychic detectives, but he's not really a psychic. He just lies. And at first, I watched the first episode. I'm like, okay, this is stupid. And then all of a sudden, when they introduced the second main character, I couldn't stop laughing.
He's
because
great.
Gus just plays so well off Sean.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been watching this show, and there's so the end of season 3 and 4, because this show is mostly a comedy show, the stakes aren't that high, but all of a sudden things and they have like I think season 6 or season 5 is also like that. God, does it get dark real fast? Like you have 3 or maybe it's 4, 5, 6. I can't remember, but there are some really super dark little episodes where I'm just like, what the fuck am I watching? Good, but just it all of a sudden got really dark.
Yeah, they have a few arcs of that, and they're pretty solid, which is, I think,
Yin-yang
a strong testament to that show, where it's like, hey, 90% of the time we're comedy. Scrubs is another good example, but then it's like, sometimes, though, we're going to get real, and it's going to make
rip
you
your
feel
heart out. Yeah.
I was
highly
actually
recommend
trying to remember, I was
You
trying
never
to remember the last show I binged, and I think it was actually Psych, because it was like back in freshman year of college, like a show I really binged, and I really did enjoy it. Like, I was surprised how like easily consumable it was.
And it's
as
on
someone who
Amazon
likes
Prime.
fun TV. Yeah. I
So it's
also
easy for anyone to watch is interested. You can just go on Amazon Prime. You have it, which I feel like most people probably do just for shipping, but go watch it. Like it's also not really long season, only about like I think 15, 16 episode seasons because it wasn't a regular show wherever it ran. Which
Wasn't there a reboot of this recently?
There's a movie.
Of Psych?
Yeah, it was a
movie.
movie, which I think just that show is also very much even in the first season is very like, this is what you're gonna get. So it's very easy, at least after a few episodes, to be like, oh, I'm down for this, or like, oh no, this is not my thing, because I know for some people it's not. It's very
right away. And like Maggie O'Hara, the one of the detectives that they work with, like she's great. Or Maggie Lawson, sorry, I combined 2 names, but she's great too. Like everyone in this show is just they work so well, and they're just funny as hell.
Nice.
I was really surprised how much I enjoyed it.
So before we move on, speaking of emulators, I have one on my phone, and I'm Super Nintendo is my favorite console of all time. I've always been pretty open about that. Love RPGs in particular, but one I never got around to playing. I've started it a dozen times probably is Chrono Trigger.
What?
And I know I've been playing it on my phone, and I'm at the very end right now. I'm just about to finish it, and I was hoping I could finish it up before this podcast, but I'm not quite there. But I still do want to talk about it for sure. I was hoping at least one of you have played it before.
I have it, so I'll throw the ball over here because I'm sure it sounds like Mike, you have some strong feelings.
Go. I'll wait.
Oh no, I haven't played it. That's why I was saying.
You haven't played it? It's my favorite game of all time. It was episode 100. Amazing RPG.
So good.
Are you playing? So you're playing the Super Nintendo version or the DS version?
The Super Nintendo version.
You should play DS.
Oh yeah.
No, I know you're at the end. Now go play DS one.
I just beat like Lavos's outer shell, so I'm like
you're at the end.
Very, very end. I just made my way through the Black Omen, but God, like I don't know how this one slipped through my But
if
hands as a kid.
When you go back to it someday, you should play DS because 1, it plays great on the phone, and 2, DS adds 2 dungeons that aren't necessary, but it also adds the true ending to the games in the DS version.
So I do have a DS emulator. I downloaded Phoenix Wright because I've never played it. I'm trying to play some of these old games that I always wanted to play and never did. I finished Brain Lord, a game that me and Michael Hughes actually bonded over on Overblood back in the day.
He's trying to make me. He's threatened to put that on the show a few times.
It's rough. It was rough to go back to. It's just one I wanted to check off my childhood list, but it did not hold up. Unlike Chrono Trigger, which could have been made yesterday.
It's still so good.
So good.
No, Brain Lord. I've never played it. I've looked at it. I've seen it. I've probably played it a little bit on emulation, but I've never stuck with it. But
it's got some good elements. It really does. But there's just like it just embodies that 90s like, all right, we're just gonna totally fuck you like game design. Like there's like rooms with random rocks that like it can be unplayable. You just have to kind of go in and out a door a few dozen times and hope the layout. Oh, it's any possible like bad trope of 90s video games you could think Brain Lord manages just to stick it in there, even though it does have some cool stuff too. It was really something.
Okay, maybe someday I'll play it, but we'll see.
Yeah,
I have no interest, but I'm glad you're playing Chrono Trigger. Like it's a game that you can play over and over again over the years because I play it every few years. I go and start it back up. Just next time you do the DS version. I mean, you aren't missing much. You're missing a lackluster dungeon, and you're missing. Because in the DS version, you have to beat the game twice in order to fight the real final boss that they added, which is hard as hell. But there's a cheap way to do it, and you get a couple dungeons that are kind of cool, but they're very, very, very fetch questy. They're not cool, like the side quests that you do. Did you do all the side quests too in the end of Chrono Trigger?
Yeah,
Okay,
as
good.
far as I know, I've basically done every. I didn't do the Black Omen thrice, so I only played through it one time.
You only need to do it once. Once is enough. That
Right,
stupid
yeah.
place.
But other than that, yeah, as far as I know, I've basically fully completed.
Because there's Cyrus. Did you do the Green Dream where you go and bring the forest back?
Yes.
There's Cyrus's ghost. There's the Rainbow Shell stuff where you go in the past and then you go in the present.
Yeah, I did Robo's Dome, brought Chrono back, cleared out Osby's Fort.
Okay. You did everything then.
I've done everything, yeah.
God, that game is so good.
It's amazing.
I can't believe you never played it.
I know, and that's like, I mean, if you look at my top 10 like favorite games, like half of them are going to come from Final Fantasy VI, Illusion of Gaia, Lufia 2, like these.
Wow, yeah, that sounds very much like that's a good game for you to play.
Yeah, right, Illusion of Gaia has also been on the show, by the way, too. So
another great game, yeah. Just like those were my childhood. That's like Super Nintendo RPGs.
Did you ever play
as a gamer?
Soul Blazer?
Yes, absolutely. And that's the Chrysalis, I believe, right? Would be there was 3 games in that series.
Terra Enigma.
Terra Enigma is another one on my list I've never played.
Same. I can change that, though.
Is Chrysalis the first game in that series, or am I mistaken?
No, it's Soul Blazer, Illusion of Gaia, Terra Enigma.
Oh, okay, that's correct. Right. Yeah.
And a trilogy that aren't really a trilogy, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And so, do I need to play Terra Enigma? I've been wavering on it, but
I'm going to put it on the show at some point to make myself play it, so I know who I'll be contacting when that day comes. So
nice, Jack. Have you played it by chance?
No, none. So this is very much a blind spot. My entire gaming thing.
It never came here. It's one of those games that never came to America that the only way to play is to emulate it if you're in America or import it from Europe.
And of course, Secret of Mana, my all-time favorite game, another Super Nintendo RPG.
Okay.
What fuck was that sound?
I've beaten it, and it's fun, but it's not my favorite.
I'll see myself out, sir.
But I haven't played it in a while, and the last time I played it, I was in a bad space mentally, so it was almost on the show.
It's more nostalgic. It's a fine game. It did things, especially back in the day, that other games had not done. But it doesn't necessarily hold up as like an all-time master. Like it doesn't hold up objectively as well as Chrono Trigger does necessarily.
No, but nothing.
But nostalgia purposes, FF6 right? Yeah, Final Fantasy VI, another game that absolutely holds up. I'm gonna replay that probably soon. I figure it's about that time.
Another thing that I went and rewatched recently, just because I didn't mean to, I just ended up and couldn't stop, is I rewatched Star Trek Enterprise. I finished season 3 and 4 this past month. Man, I watched that show once before, and I remember thinking, "Oh, this show is stupid." God, that show is good. Like, even if you're not a Star Trek fan, like I think it's a great show.
I never really watched any Star Trek. A little bit of the one with Picard.
It's good, but the first season is tough for watching it in this day and age because it's from 86 or 87. So it's not easy to go back to, but Enterprise came out in the early 2000s, and I think it's very doable now. And they have a whole season, like season 3 is all about one thing that's happening, and they just cover this entire conflict over the course of a season. Like it's really well done.
Is anyone watching the new, what is it, Discovery? Is that the current Star Trek show?
Yeah. That one's not as good. But I mean, also, I think if I remember correctly, when Enterprise came out, it wasn't very well received.
It wasn't.
And so now it seems funny because I feel like one of my friends who also likes Star Trek, because I like a lot of the series, says that. And it's like, yeah, it seems like when it comes out, people don't like it. But then in time goes by and people come back like, oh, it's not as bad as we thought it was. And some people say it's so good. And
the issue with it is it was a prequel and people wanted to continue the story like Voyager did in Deep Space Nine. They wanted more future stuff. And it's also a time travel story at times, too, because they deal with people that are coming from the way future, jumping back and forth, altering things in the past, and that also upset. So that's part of the issue. I think people had a problem with it, but it's a very good show, and the captain has to make some like decisions that are not something that Picard would do because he wouldn't have to. Like there's some very interesting stuff they do in this show.
Which is funny because it makes that exact line makes you think of Voyager. And I don't think, at least, I don't know if people like Voyager that much. I like Voyager, but I thought it was just a dumb fun time. But
I don't like Voyager, but I only watched it once.
I've only watched it once, but I liked it because it did some weird things, and I was like, I'm ready for it because I was a big fan of the one with Picard,
Next Generation.
Thank you, gosh, I'm very spacey today, but yeah, I love that one. And then so when I went and watched Voyager, I was like, oh, we're just going weird with it, which is fun. Deep Space Nine, I think, arguably is much better. I think they do a lot more things, and they do it a lot more eloquently, and I completely see that. But Voyager's like just has a soft spot in my heart. I'm like, this is just dumb fun. We're just out on the other side of the universe. It don't matter.
Oh, and are there any other games you've been playing, Jack, that you want to mention?
I have a pretty solid list here, so like I think I'll let you guys pick because I think it'd be interesting. I want to hear what you guys want to hear about. The other ones I've this last month, I went back and I've been playing Halo 4 because I played a lot of the Infinite Beta.
Never played Halo
Splitgate,
4.
funnily enough, which is also just another very Halo-like game. I also played a lot of the Back 4 Blood beta, more Dead by Daylight, Fire Emblem Three House, and then a game called Boyfriend Dungeon, which I kind of just started playing. Any of those, I will.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, I've heard about all these, but have never. I played Halo 4, but I think that's the only one in that list I've played. So,
Boyfriend Dungeon is weirdly easy. I think it's great and everything else it does, but like I don't know, I noticed the combat is very just like you can just stun lock any enemy or even groups of enemies, which is weird, but
that's
that
fine.
makes. Yeah,
I would like to hear your thoughts on Back 4 Blood because I was a huge Left 4 Dead fan, but I've not played the Back 4 Blood beta.
I think I'm pretty lukewarm. I feel like I either hear people say they love it or it's fine. It's definitely a sequel, or a sequel-esque to Left 4 Dead, which is enough, and I'm kind of more in that camp. I don't know. I think being in beta, there is definitely some stuff they could improve. Like I think some of the systems which are really cool, like they have basically a deck card system that after you beat like what essentially in Left 4 Dead would be a chapter, like a section. You then get to pull from that deck out of several cards, and you get to pick which one you want. It'll give you and even your team a small buff. Like that's a really cool system. I don't know how well it's executed. I would say like some of it feels a little confusing, if not also just like not very significant. But like you get more cards by looping campaigns, so to get more cards to do the campaigns better. So it has a better loop cycle and theoretically than Left 4 Dead, which I really like. The gunplay is really fun. There's small complaints I have. Like I feel like the aim down sight time is really slow, but again. That's probably because I'm coming from Left 4 Dead. It's very quick.
This isn't made by Valve, right?
No, it's made by Turtle Rock, which I think
Yes.
is the studio that did Left 4 Dead 2 and a little bit of Left 4 Dead 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a spiritual successor, just without the Valve approval stamp. But yeah, like they have I think they have like 25 guns, 26 or something, and it's like made 20. But it's a lot of guns compared to Left 4 Dead. But they're all pretty fun to shoot. Like in the versus mode, which is also in the beta, you get a random gun and you get a small selection of guns across the map, and like any gun I picked up, basically I was never mad about. I feel like in Left 4 Dead I would typically stick to like a shotgun or something because it was kind of like, but like this one it felt fun to pick up anything like an LMG, a Deagle, just like, oh, it's fun.
Oh, cool.
And then like some of the progression's kind of weird, and I think I think some of the core stuff is really solid, and I'm excited to see what they change by the time it comes out. And I think it's definitely, at least if you're a Left 4 Dead fan, it's worth checking out. There's no reason not to try it. I think it's still an open beta, at least for another day or two, maybe, if it hasn't already stopped. But like,
by the time they hear this, it's done.
Oh well, oh yeah, you're right. Well, maybe when it comes out, give it a
It looks interesting. I'm watching the release date trailer right now for it. I don't play multiplayer games at all. I just can't do it because of my style of playing. I like to play a game, beat a game, shelve a game, move on. And you can't do it with online games, because they're different. And I don't like playing with other people either. It's hard for me to do it because I have to like set it up and we have to plan it, and people don't always like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, it has to be like, okay, we're gonna play this day at this time for like this long, or at least we're gonna play at this time. Like I can't just be, oh, you're on, okay, let's go play. Like my life is not like that.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I think that was it could be a downside of this. The campaigns actually feel really long, which is a positive, but with Left 4 Dead, I feel like you could beat all of the like stories and be content. And then like if you're a really big fan, you want to replay or play versus, but like it was pretty like concise and each story was its own thing, so it was really fun. I feel like if you wanted to do any element of that, especially in this game, I don't think it's going to be like worth it, unfortunately, for like as a story aspect, or like I don't even know how well the single player would be, but I think it's fun. I think it's kind of like a dumb fun. I mean, the other game worth shouting out is DayZ. No, not DayZ. What's the movie that got the zombie movie?
World War Z.
World War Z. That one.
What kind of game is that?
It's basically Left 4 Dead except third person. You have hordes of zombies that come at you, and you and a team of 4 people run through a map and basically are trying to escape various things.
Does it have a campaign, or is it just online?
No, it is online, but it's the same thing. It has like its own little story with the 4 people, but it's mostly online in that sense. Yeah.
Okay. Can you play single player?
Yes. I mean, you can play, I think, Back 4 Blood single player too. You just have AI that run around with you.
Okay. Because I used to be big into zombie games and zombie stuff. That's went away, but I've always World War Z. I remember that game when it came out, and I was curious about it, and I forgot it existed. But
I can't remember. I think it might be on Game Pass. Regardless, I've played it a good amount, and I'd say it's pretty fun. Like, I think it's kind of a very different experience from Back 4 Blood, but I think it's definitely interesting and kind of more fun to see. Like, they have like class-based stuff where it's like you can set up like a turret. There's like limited weapons. It's pretty different, but it's pretty fun because also like that one focuses more on like hordes. So like this one is much more like, there's definitely swarms like of like 50 or 60 or maybe 100, but like that one you will kill like 200 zombies in like a wave, and you'll like post up. So it's, if you want a lot more of like just slaughtering a whole bunch of zombies, that one's definitely I would say is fun.
Okay, maybe I'll try it someday. Oh, I do want to hear about, you said you were playing Boyfriend Dungeon, and I looked up, and I've heard a little bit about this, but I want to hear more from someone that's played it.
So yeah, besides the weirdly, for me at least, feeling easy gameplay, the amount I played is about like 5-ish hours.
Okay.
The mechanics seem pretty like simple but fun. That's the thing. I would describe this game as a nutshell as simple but fun, especially if you're very into a dating sim style thing.
It looks cool.
Yeah, all the characters that I've come across and have talked with are very solid. There's definitely one or two I hate, but I think that's most dating sims, so like that lines up. But like they're great. They're very well written. It's very LGBT positive and like inclusive. And that's the other thing with this is, as a dating sim, theoretically, like every character is always very clear. It's like, hey, I'm down to date, but also I'm really good with just being good buddies. And it's really nice to have that reinforcement because it's like, hey, we're thinking about people maybe who don't just want to date people. And that's, I think it does a lot of things really well. And it's very fun and just kind of wholesome. It's a very kind of wholesome, simple, just kind of relaxing game, basically.
I love games that are easy.
Also on Game Pass.
Well, it's just, I do. I mean, I've said it on the show because I make games easy. Like when I played Castlevania Symphony Night last time, I got lucky, but I got to play the game in what I call easy mode. The carcinogen dropped for me, Blake, on my first enemy that drops it in the inverted castle.
Yeah.
The game was over after that because you know what the carcinogen is? I think it's called the carcinogen.
The
carcinogen, yeah, that sword.
Yeah.
It's over. Like you just tap a button and things just die, and that's it. And I played the game what I call it. I've beaten the game before, but that's very easy mode in my opinion.
I always do the glitch that lets you keep your starting equipment, like to where death doesn't take it.
Oh, where you zip past it.
Yeah, it just makes the rest of the game like
I never done
a much more relaxing experience.
Oh, and I did read a comic that I want to talk about. That I was on another podcast sometime last month called "Some of My Friends Read Comics." But I read a comic I didn't even know existed, which I did not need to read. But there's a Super Metroid comic, by the way, from Nintendo Power.
Oh. Does it just read through the story of the game, or is
you
it
would
like
think
an app?
so, but no. It's her and some guy named, I think, Dallas or something, or no, Austin, Houston, something like some Texas city name.
Texas.
And
San Antonio is the guy's name.
And it was okay. It's not very good, but it was fine. But no, it didn't follow the game really. It followed like a different story. It was really strange. Like it's even hard to find online. It isn't online the normal places I would go. I had to find it on Imgur where somebody had posted a scan of it. But yeah, there's a Super Metroid comic that is a whole different story that isn't even the game, and the game itself is like
This sounds like vaguely familiar. Like I feel like I read a lot of Nintendo Power when I was younger, so I feel like I've seen this before, even if I didn't have
it's in 4
real
parts.
memories of it.
I think I found the image. I'll post it in chat in case you guys are curious.
I'm good, but it's worth a read. If you haven't read it before and you like Metroid, it's worth just checking out.
So I've seen the only other one that comes to mind, funnily enough, is there was a panel comic series of the Mario, like the old Mario. It's like black and white, and I've seen images of that, and I made me think of that. So I'm like, oh, it's nothing like that. This is beautiful. No, this is amazing.
It's good art.
Yeah, that's legit.
It kind of contradicts a little bit of stuff that goes on, and it has some humor, but most of it isn't even about like Super Metroid. Like a little bit is, but like she gets injured. But yeah, it only exists that I have found is some guy posted scans of it on Imgur. Like it was interesting though. It's like I think 4 or 5 issues that are it's not very long, but it's worth reading if you like Metroid.
Yeah, that's pretty
Check
cool.
it out. I didn't know it existed.
One of my favorite RPPs.
You mean Metrovanias?
Shut up.
I love Metrovania title. Well, except I'm also
God damn it.
I like that style of game, but it has to be the RPG part for me. It can't just be the exploration. If I don't have RPG elements where I can grind, because I get lost in those games, so I want my loss to count for something. If I'm not getting money and experience, then I don't like it as much.
That's right. And Ender Lilies is fantastic about that. So that's another reason I'd recommend that.
I get lost all the fucking time in games like that. I just do. I mean, it's...
Oh, yeah. Some of them are, like, Hollow Knight's notorious for being... Like, you have to use some of your You have relic slots, which are basically like accessories, and you can only equip so many. And you have to use some of those if you even want a map or to know where you are on the map, and you have to hand place pins on the map. It can be pretty brutal. There's fast travel, but you have to, it's pretty sparse, but you have to really travel
Also,
swaths of the map.
the way that I play those type of games is I print out a map at work and laminate it.
I've never heard that. That's impressive commitment.
That
Well, I work
is.
at a printing
Really
place.
is.
So anytime I play Metrovania game, I will go and find a map online.
Never heard that term before.
I will print out the map. I will laminate the map, and the map will sit on the table with me while I play through the game.
Okay, that's one way to do it.
And I mean, yes, some people are like, oh, you're ruining it. Like, you know what? If I didn't do it, I was playing Bloodstain, Curse of the Moon.
Ooh, I love that game.
Amazing game. And it was
So
one of
good.
the games I was playing not for the show. And I got stuck and I fell off it and I regret it because I was having so much fun, but now it's been too long and I can't go back to it. Like if I go back to it, I gotta start over.
Yeah.
So now I'm just waiting until I just make myself play it on the show. So
that game is so good.
That's such a, like, it feels very, just a hot take, maybe judgy to just be like, I know many people, and I've seen even articles talk about, like, it should just be much more accepted to be like, look stuff up and like do that sort of thing. Cause like, yeah, gaming is crazy. As an adult, it is so hard to get time to really go through. And especially like, I'm sure every generation says this, but like nowadays there's so many good games that I'm like, I wish I could play that. And you have to pick and choose. But like, I think, being able to get through some of those games faster by either A, setting to a lower difficulty, or B, looking things up is totally valid. And I think it makes it so much, for some, more enjoyable, and for
enjoy
others,
games how you want. That's
exactly.
I'm
don't
very
artificially
big on that.
hold yourself back from enjoying a game just because you feel like you need to.
I went through a phase where I was trying to beat games legit in quotations, and it made me like example, Mega Man 2. I sat down and played Mega Man 2 over and over and over again at one point, trying to learn it and master it. I'm going to beat this game legit. And in the end, I got to Wily stages and never finished it.
It's like, fuck this. Yeah, I mean, that's like, why do that when you can just look stuff up?
Well, I mean, I knew what to do. I just was trying to pull it off without using save state. And it was after that I realized and I did the same thing with Super Mario World, and I got to a point and I'm like, why am I even bothering? Like, just play the game I want to play it. Who cares if it's legit in quotations? As long as I have fun and beat it, I enjoyed it. I can talk about it. I moved on from it, and then so that's become what I do. Like in this podcast, anyone listens enough, I play almost everything with save state. I will usually, if I can buy it, I will buy it on Steam or something to support the developers, but I will still play it in save states because that's just how I had to play. But I will always try to buy a game that
there are, in fairness, a few games out there that I would recommend. Like has anyone here played The Outer Wilds?
Yes, that's probably one of my top 3 games. Yeah,
so good,
definitely.
Right? And that's a game where I would definitely recommend. Like, don't look something up. Like, call me. Like, let me give you a hint or something. You know what I mean? Like, please don't look anything up just because it's so. Oh God, one of the
think that game
best experiences in gaming.
Tips are great, but like, even trying to look up a tip, you would just get other spoilers because the whole game is literally like, go at wherever you want.
Yeah, anything you could be told is going to be a spoiler in that game because there's no inventory. Like the only progression is your own knowledge. You could boot the game up and beat it in 20 minutes, but you can't do that because you have to learn. That's what I love so much about that game.
Yeah, but those games I would say are definitely far and few between. But that one is a perfect example of the rule and the counter of the rule, and it's amazing. Another game, could not recommend it enough.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, maybe one day. I mean, I'm going back and trying to beat a lot of retro games that have been on my list for fucking years. Never got around.
Yeah, same thing.
That's why this podcast exists.
That's Fire Emblem 3 Houses for me. I bought that pretty soon after it came out. And I played through one story, and you have to play that game several times, like get all the bits. And I just have never gone back. And I'm like, I finally sat down and going through again and been really enjoying the story. So that's been nice.
I want to play it so bad. I just don't. I'm at a point in my life. I don't buy games full price. I have Games Pass, and I'll buy games on sale.
But so you basically don't buy Nintendo games.
Exactly. They don't go on like, maybe a 5% sale if you're lucky. But
I mean, I'm in the same boat. I can't buy games for full price for now, and I was introduced to what Steam is, so I buy all my games on Steam now.
Exactly.
So I'm really spoiled.
Oh, crazy.
And like I can't Nintendo. Like I love Nintendo games. They make amazing games, but I can't handle the I really want to. Like, okay, I bought Breath of the Wild for $60 for Wii U. I had a terrible time, and I've been wanting to go back to it. And I have a Switch, so I'm like, okay, I will buy this for Switch when it's $20.
Breath of the Wild was on Wii U.
Yes,
What?
came out for Wii U and Switch same day.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Wii U
Holy
game
shit.
that they ported to Switch essentially.
Wow.
Yeah,
But you know that
Damn,
Sheikah,
holy shit.
yeah, because the Sheikah thing he carries, that was supposed to be the Wii U gamepad. It was supposed to have more
yeah,
things.
that's like
but
the
then they
Slate
changed
is a
it.
representation of the Wii U controller, which is
Yeah.
it's so funny when you look at that.
That's wild. I thought it was a
Mhm.
Switch.
Yeah, no, it was supposed to be. It's a Wii U game. It was supposed to be a
That's
Wii U game until they
Fucking
just.
incredible.
ported it.
Holy shit.
But yeah, no,
Uh,
it's not. I have issues with it, and so I want to go back and play it, but I can't because Nintendo won't put it in a way that I want to do it, so I don't experience it, and it's stuff like that
Super.
that irritates me.
Yeah.
Mario Kart 8 makes me so mad. Do you guys remember off the top of your heads when Mario Kart 8 originally came out?
I know it's Wii U,
Was that the
Take a guess.
Okay.
Give me a guess on a year.
2014.
That's what I was gonna say. So now I'll say
That's
2013.
correct. 2014.
I wasn't looking it up, by the way. I just-
8 years ago. And I want to play that game so bad right now because I also have friends who've been playing. They're keen to try and play it. And the same thing, I'm like, oh, wait, that's on sale. That game has been out essentially, minus some updates and extra content, for 8 years. And it's still $60.
Still full price.
And
Yeah.
I'm just so like, and I
Nintendo.
think the lowest I've seen it since I've been watching is like 50. It was like, oh, here's $10 off. And I'm like, Nintendo, no.
So a little funny story about that. I lost my Switch about a year ago, so I had to get a new one. I had to get Mario Kart because that's like my fiance loves playing Mario
Mhm.
Kart. She says her language just is frightening when we play. It's terrible, but
That's smart.
she had to have it. So I just bought a new Switch bundled with Mario Kart, and that's like the only concession I make to buying Nintendo games. But she wouldn't let me not have Mario Kart, unfortunately.
I mean, okay, that's funny though.
Yeah, that's not funny in the moment. It's frightening.
Yep. I know that.
Speaking of like buying it, the last game I bought for $60 was I bought Pokemon Snap for my wife.
Okay, mine
I
was
haven't
Mass
played it.
Effect. I the Legendary Edition. Like
Mhm.
I love Mass Effect. That's what I'm playing right now, actually.
Someday we were gonna do it for November, but I didn't want to play it again. We just played
Oh,
Mass Effect
yeah.
1 last year on the show, and it was one of my worst recording episodes because my microphone did not record right. So
Oh,
Just
it
a little
recorded the
bit.
webcam and not the microphone I had hooked up that I was talking into. I didn't realize it till after I was editing in post.
His audio is significantly worse than more. Oh no.
And no, but they didn't. My co-host Mike was having issues at the time where he couldn't get on because of he was having internet issues. So the other guy's like, "Oh, I just thought you were just loud for some reason." I'm like, "Why didn't you tell me?" We recorded a 3-hour podcast that I can't stand. So I have not wanted to go back yet. Someday.
I'm methodically. So I played 1, and then I played 1 on Insanity, and then I played 2, and now I'm playing through 2 on Insanity. So I'm just sweeping through like that, and that'll probably be the last time I ever play Mass Effect.
And one last thing I want to say about Nintendo games is my issue with them is that 1, they don't lower price, and 2, they don't like the re-release stuff in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's why I'm a big fan of emulation for games that cannot be refound, like Eternal Darkness, for example. You
Yeah.
shouldn't have to go online and pay somebody on eBay $100-$200 for that game, and it's a great game. Like those are stuff where I'm like, yeah, don't. And that's never getting re-released. Nintendo owns it. They're never gonna bring that back. They're done with that.
Well, and for a while there was a really strong push from mostly Sony and Xbox where they're like, hey, we're gonna really start going back in our old library and like bringing some stuff forward. And they did it pretty well for Xbox 360, and I think Xbox One still has some for Xbox 360, but it never really went further than that. I think there's like 30 Xbox games that you can play, and it's like that library is massive.
Seems
And
like
there's
such a no-brainer too.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know.
It just ends up not being worth it, I think.
Yeah,
I
and
guess
in
so.
today, I think so many people who are playing just don't care. We'd rather
it's true.
just.
I mean, there's just so many good games out there, and just who has the time to play them all?
Exactly.
It's hard.
So, yeah, that's just it's a sad thing because there's just more and more stuff that's getting lost to time, and so many companies, especially Nintendo, are just like, hey, we won't do anything about it.
Fuck
And then
it.
fans like, can I
Yeah.
do something about it? And they're like, we're gonna sue. And it's like,
No.
all right, well, I tried.
DMCA.
Jack, do you have any other games or movies you want to mention before we go on to our last topic?
No, like I said, I went through that list. I will say I think Halo Infinite's really fun, but it also kind of reminds me of the other Halos, which again is that weird issue of like, I don't think people liked Halo 4 or Halo 5, but Halo Infinite reminds me of those ones, and so I'm a little confused on a disconnect, but I like it. Splitgate's really rad. I'll say that. Splitgate is also an open beta It's another multiplayer game, but it's very fun, and it makes me feel more almost like a Halo game with Portal than other Halo games. So I think that's basically it. I think I'm content. I don't know if anyone else wants to talk about any other games.
Like anything you want to mention still we haven't gotten to
One,
yet?
one more game, and this is a game
Sure.
I beat the drum of this game like everywhere I can and go. And Jack, you may be interested. You may have played it. It's a game called Paradise Killer. I don't know if anyone. It's very kind of obscure. It's on Switch,
Never
maybe
heard of
some
it.
other. So amazingly ridiculous good. It fits into that Outer Wilds niche of like don't look anything up because it's a murder mystery set. It's so crazy, but it's so good. So it's like it's a murder mystery set on a pocket dimension island where like the last of this god worshipping cult has disappeared and are trying to resurrect their dead gods. All right, that's the setup.
What is this called?
It's called Paradise Killer.
Paradise Killer. Okay, I'm gonna look this up while you're talking.
On this locked island dimension with only a few people left, someone gets murdered, so they bring you, an investigator called Lady Love Dies, down from exile to solve this locked island mystery. And it's so incredible. So from the start, you can begin the trial if you want, with no evidence, and accuse whoever you want. Or you can, of course, I probably put 60 hours into it. What I love about it, though, is at no point does the game tell you the right answer. After you've beat it, you gather the evidence, you go to trial, and it's just a standout sequence of this trial where you present your evidence and pick who you want to accuse based on what you found. And at the end, if you make a compelling case, they lock or execute these people, and the game, roll credits. It's at no point is like, congratulations, you've won. You just kind of live with your choice and hope you made the right call based on the evidence you found.
Okay.
But it's so good. So good.
The aesthetics, for one, are amazing. There's this very vibrant
amazing.
colors. The character design is crazy.
It's so fucking out there. The soundtrack is amazing. Like, I'd still hum it in my head and have it on my Spotify. It's just, very, very like synth wave, vaporwave, I think they call the particular aesthetic. I can't recommend it enough. Hardly anyone knows about it. I don't know anyone else who's played it, honestly, but I was so absorbed by this game, and I feel like I got it right, which was a good feeling, But man, it's an obscure title I wanted to make sure I called out, if nothing else.
Okay.
I think the
check it out
thing
someday.
that would sell me on it, and I think hopefully will sell others. There is a character who is just named Dr. Doomjazz, and that's amazing.
Doomjazz.
Dr. Doomjazz.
The doctor on the island with robot arms. The game is so
great.
Fucking out there. There's a girl named Crimson Blood or something like that. She is a former model turned commando who asked the gods to replace her head with a goat head, and they granted her that wish.
But why?
Why? It's
You gotta play the game. You can't tell
it's another game. I can't really tell you much without spoiling it, because anything you could be told is a spoiler. The only currency in the game is basically knowledge and what you personally find.
Okay. You won't like the way when I play it, though. I can tell you that much if I talk about it. So.
That's you can enjoy it however you want.
Tell you if you're right. So even if you were to look it up, and you're only gonna get like, I have a very strong belief it's this character for this reason. Even that's like,
Yeah, it just wouldn't be the satisfaction of the game, much like Jack knows from Outer Wilds, is the discovery. So looking it up, you can technically do that and finish it, but it's just one of those rare games where like the journey truly is more than the end point. Like, just the discovery is enough to propel you forward.
Crimson Acid, by the way.
Crimson Acid, that's right. The names are Love Dies, Lydia, Daybreak, like just
Grand Marshal Mark 14. It's like, that's
it's so great. But it's one of the few games. Again, I've pretty open. Like, enjoy games how you want, but those two titles specifically, I just cannot recommend enough. Just go in blind, and if you feel like you need to look something up, do it. But I can almost guarantee that you'll just be propelled by your sense of curiosity and discovery strictly alone, because you just find something, it's like, oh shit, okay, and then soon you're starting to put together these threads of like, oh fuck, this connects to this, and before you do it, you're doing your own investigative work, and that's the crux of the game. So to like rob yourself of that is just really doing yourself a disservice, I think, before you give it a fair shot. And if you get stuck, then look up some tips and stuff. But that's my recommendation.
This is also a note. It is also on Steam. It's
Nice.
already on my wish list.
Yeah.
I'll definitely.
And it was like $15, I think, when I picked. I don't remember if I got it on sale or not, but it's not an expensive game.
It's $20 right now.
Mhm.
So
Not
fucking
on sale.
worth it. So good.
Okay, now let's take a look at it sometime.
It's out there, man.
You got my interest.
Yeah.
Oh, and this is not a game I played recently, but there's a free game on Steam you should try. It's like it'll only take you a couple hours, called Summerland.
Summerland. Okay.
I got to interview the developer of that game a while ago, but since you're bringing up what you like, try it out. It's free. It's on Steam. Anyone listening, it only takes a couple hours to beat. It was made by one guy at home in college, so it's not like, but it's fun. I liked it. I played it. I reviewed it. So definitely, if you're listening to this and you like that type of stuff, check it out.
Nice. Cool.
So I would highly recommend that. He's also a really cool guy, but that doesn't matter. But the game's fun.
I like supporting really cool guys, so that works out.
It's free, so you're not. But he's happy to know you played it. I'm sure.
There you go. Nice.
I'll just download it. There you go. I already looked it up, and I looked through it for like a minute, and I'm like, yeah, I'll download this.
It's cool. Neat. It's definitely worth the price of admission of
free.
Yeah. So yeah. So if you're listening, Connor, I'm still plugging your game.
Nice.
That Steam page, his Steam page for it is really wholesome because literally in the description there's, "Hi, this is Connor," and it's like, man, you don't get that often. That's wholesome.
Super nice guy, super friendly. Like we talked a while ago, and super cool guy. All right, and I want to bring it to our last topic. Blake, you saw the new Suicide Squad movie, right?
Correct.
Okay. Did you go to theaters? Did you watch an HBO Max?
Yeah, I watched it in theaters. The first movie I've seen in theaters since I think Endgame, so it had been a while.
Oh, it had been a while.
Yeah, so I was excited,
So in preparation, I decided to watch the first Suicide Squad movie again since on HBO Max. My God, that movie is shit.
So bad.
Oh God, I was just like, I watched it before. I saw it in theaters when it came out in 2016. I remember, okay, this is cool. Like I liked it, and I hadn't seen it since. So I went and rewatched it. I'm like, this movie is awful.
It's so bad. One.
Margaret Robbie's good in it though, right? Isn't that what I remember hearing? Everyone's like, "Oh, she's great." Everything else is terrible.
She's good in it.
Yeah, she's hard. I mean, she has her Harley performance down. So I mean, I guess your mileage may vary if you like her as Harley. I do, but she's a high point of the movie, I think, regardless of how you feel about her, for sure.
And then, because I wanted to get ready for the second movie, and when I started watching the second movie, it didn't take me long to realize that like Idris Elba's character, Bloodshot, is essentially just Will Smith's character from the first movie.
More or less.
I mean, he has a daughter that he's trying to look out for, and that's why he joins. He's a shoot everybody, proficient with all weapons. He's very much the same character, which I thought was funny they did that.
Bloodsport, right?
Yes. Yeah, so he was supposed to take the role of Deadshot, and then at some point they swapped it because they wanted, if Will Smith wanted to come back, they wanted to keep that open, so they just basically reinserted him as Bloodsport. So
it was Will Smith's choice to back out.
Well, so I assume so because they're keeping the door open for him to come back. I know that part. So I don't know if it was his choice or not, but they do want to leave that window cracked. So that's why because he was originally going to be just Deadshot.
Okay, because it feels like a movie where it's not really in my opinion, it's not a sequel to the first one. It's a more of a
let's try again.
Yeah. Oh God, yes. Because like there is comments like Harley Quinn has a jacket that says something about clown killer or clown gone or something like ex-clown or something like that, but there are no references to the previous movie really.
Yeah, like so it kind of tactically acknowledges exists by the fact that these characters obviously know each other and have a history, but yeah, it's not overly concerned with tying itself to the original fucking disaster either.
Hell, okay, there will be spoilers for Suicide Squad. Are you okay with that, Jack?
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so anyone listening, you've been warned. We're going to spoil Suicide Squad. I know it's only come out a little bit ago, so I want to warn you. This is the 2021, so you've been warned. So I want to talk about some of them. We're not going to go deep, but I do want to talk a little bit about it. But
but if I may, real quick, before you say that, the one thing about the movie is the trailer basically spoils it. You can put together the plot of the movie by basically watching the trailer. So it's not. I don't think even anyone is. Yeah, it really doesn't.
I mean, in the trailer, they show you the big twist of a giant starfish.
Right. Yeah. So you can't really. There's only a certain level you can spoil this movie anyway if you've seen the trailer.
One of the things that made me feel like a really fuck you to the first movie. So Captain Boomerang was one of the characters that survived in the first movie. He dies in the first 10 minutes of this film.
Yeah, that was great. That was a great
I'm like,
choice.
wow, that is just a fuck you to the first film. Like he's fine, but I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, that was clever. I thought.
I was a little sad because I liked him. and I like kept
He,
moving.
yeah, he was the highlight of the first movie. I think that's why they did it. Like, look, even the good parts of this movie were
They gotta go.
taken off the board. Yeah,
And it was, I mean, hell, they killed Rick Flag too. Like they get everyone from the first movie.
yeah, that was tough.
They're like, I forget that first movie. It didn't happen. But
Pretty much, and that's probably the best call, right? I mean, like just to acknowledge, yeah, it was a fucking nightmare, and let's just move on.
It's a great film. Like it's funny. It's intense.
The cast is intense. It's wild how good that cast is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm as high on it as maybe some other people, but it was not a bad film by any means. I enjoyed myself at it.
I did too. I laughed a lot. I liked the way they did everything. I laughed my ass off when Harley Quinn, she has sex with the guy, and then he's like, "I kill kid," and she shoots him, and she's just talking to him while he's dying.
I think I would definitely just watch the second one. I mean, just the fact that they have Knuckles in it is wild. Knuckles. Right? I can't believe they got that poll.
Someone pulled some strings there to make that happen.
God, Idris Elba is so good. I mean, I don't know anything about that character at all, Bloodsport, but he did a great job in it. And
he did.
Like,
he's
Polka Dot Man was a character that actually is now cool for the first time in his history.
Yeah, he was great.
I mean, that's not something you expected either.
Perhaps ironically, I thought the weakest part of the movie was John Cena. I just didn't care for his. I mean, there was some funny bits. He made me laugh, but as a whole, I thought he was the least interesting character, and he's the one who gets his own spin-off.
I think that sounds intentional, honestly. Like how much they put him forward and how loud his character is. I feel like that almost could be like, he's not meant to be your favorite. He's meant to be here and do okay, and that's it. But like the other,
he gets his own spin-off. Is the thing. That's what.
Oh no!
Yeah, but that's Peacemaker show coming.
I think that's because of John Cena himself. Is such
100%. Absolutely,
he's a big actor. Oh, he's in Psych too, by the way.
Oh, nice.
He's in a random episode of Psych I was watching one day. I'm like, John Cena. Fun fact you didn't ask for.
Nice.
Also, Ernie Hudson's in an episode of Psych too. I'm watching a lot of Psych.
Yeah, right. It happens.
But no, I mean, I agree with you. Like, I'm not I actually didn't stay for the credits scene in this movie because I had to go piss. So I'm like, I gotta go. Bye. And I YouTubed it later.
That's fair.
To see that John Cena survives.
He does. Yeah. He's supposedly dies in the movies, but I knew he had a spinoff coming in. So
I thought it was a prequel.
What is it?
I thought it was gonna be a prequel show though. After he died.
It may be. That may be true. I just knew he had a spinoff show, and I just assumed, I guess, that it would be set after, but it may not be.
From the sound of it, that scene was a later addition.
Interesting.
It wasn't.
Okay, well,
the Peacemaker show wasn't supposed to exist. It was during filming they really liked him and wanted to do more with him, from what I understand.
So the post-credit scene, I don't know if you've watched it since, but it really seems to set. It's clearly set after the movie, and it seems to set up the show. Now that they could go a different direction, obviously, but that's definitely, I got strong, like, we're setting up the spinoff with this particular scene vibes.
That's what think it's going to be too. And that's what it seems people on the internet assume too.
Which is going to be interesting because, of course, like, Idris Elba's character murders him, so you would assume, that's something that we'll need to play into. If it's a sequel, like, he's not just going to let that fly.
I think that will be a movie, if we get a movie down the road.
Yeah, that probably makes the most sense.
So obviously Marvel has Disney money behind them, and that's a pretty large factor. But do you think? I feel like as someone who hasn't watched all these movies, been from the outside looking in, it sounds like a lot of early DC's pretty hit or miss. There was some good stuff, a lot of not great stuff. Suicide Squad, the original included. Do you think this movie kind of represents like maybe a new era that they're finally starting to get some footing? Like Shazam, I heard that's really good.
Aquaman, Shazam, Birds of Prey, everything after Justice League, and besides Wonder Woman 1984, is them really like doing different. Well, Wonder Woman doing something different, but just not good. But they went away after Justice League failed. They really went a different route. Yeah,
I think they're trending the right direction for sure. It's safe to say.
I agree. And they have
Suicide Squad's probably the best DC movie, like non-animated movie. I think it might be safe to say.
Maybe.
Okay. Well, I mean, in terms of like their new DC.
No, I know what you mean. I love Aquaman.
Right. Not like or like Dark Knight. Obviously, I don't think Suicide Squad was a better film objectively than that, for instance. But
that's not really a superhero film.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's not. This is a different thing.
Yeah, that's a hard comparison because that movie is just a movie with Batman in it.
Yeah, for sure.
God, I think I'm also excited, as someone who's more a person who plays games, to see like the Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. At least the trailers have been really good, and it seems like they have a really good kind of similar tone. And I
That's
also really like
Rocksteady, right?
I
Yes.
think so, yeah. And I like the
Yes. No,
Sharks
in
and Bolts.
Rocksteady, I trust. So
Yeah, so I'm kind of excited to see as this, as the DC movies keep coming out, some of their other projects and how they do it, because it's kind of been interesting again to watch the Marvel side of that and see how they've kind of, I would argue, fumbled it a few times since they've been releasing stuff in this recent era. But it seems like DC kind of has some interesting stuff coming up that I'm really excited to check out.
I disagree with that, but I can understand it.
So is the Batman games the best like comic book games ever made? Because I think I would argue yes, probably.
Well, if there's a certain podcast that has a show called Top 10 Superhero Games, you go listen to an episode, see what we thought. I don't remember what. No, it's up there. Batman, the Arkham games, Spider-Man, Insomniac is up there.
Oh yeah,
Spider-Man. Yeah, that is true.
I don't remember what else we said because it's been a while, but yeah, there's a few that are really up there high.
Nice plug, by the way. I mean, Injustice.
I have to.
From the no, it's not bad. It's just it's very it's a very, I want to say hard thing to do, but to really get it in, make it nice and neat, and keep going. And I think that was good. That's just making yeah. But like Injustice is another interesting one that's not like, it has some really fun story, but it's not delivered in a format similar at all to Spider-Man or Batman. And that one comes to mind.
Right. Yeah.
Also, underrated game that is better than it has any right to be is the Flash game for Game Boy Advance.
Not even familiar with it.
It's a beat 'em up, but you actually get to feel like the Flash.
Oh man, that looks wild.
It's good. I beat it on a cell phone. Not the way to play it, but it's a fun little game. It'll last you 3 hours or so. You'll be done with it. You'll move on. But
Game Boy Advance had some bangers, like a really underrated little handheld.
Oh yeah,
I should look some of those up because man, every time like I'll look through the Game Boy Advance emulator and someone who never played a Game Boy Advance, I'll just try to pick something random. Oh boy, there's always just ones that look so bad. I'm like, I have to know what this is. And like honestly, this one, looking at just like the box art, I would have thought this would be bad. So it's pretty interesting to hear that it was really good. Bad. And it looks pretty fun, honestly, looking at the clips and like a little video.
A little beat 'em up. You'll play it. You'll beat it in a couple hours or in one day, and you'll have fun, and you'll be happy you tried it.
Nice.
Highly recommend. Take the time out and try it out.
Just a whole lot of a very varied list of recommendations in this episode. I feel like if anyone did all these, it'd be like, you just have a whole thing coming up. You're
really covering the bases here, yeah.
I try to find ways to plug everything too, so that plays a part in it too.
Yeah, it's true. It's good to remember all that because, like, I don't think anyone else in my lifetime is ever going to be like, you ever try that Game Boy Advance Justice, the Flash game?
No, it's actually an Overbloody who brought it up. I think his name was Christian, who mentioned it, and I was like, what the hell is this? And I tried it, and I'm like, oh, and then yeah, now I sell it just like he did. So
I just miss the golden era of licensed games in general. That just seems like that's kind of passes by.
Yeah, because this just doesn't make sense anymore for people. It's so expensive. Games are so much more expensive now. We're making, and you don't get the values of having license as if it's your own IP.
Do you remember? Do you guys remember like one thing I miss, like just in general, but like licensed games maybe even more so, is like when Super Nintendo and Genesis would have different versions of the same game.
Oh,
yeah, it's just something you'll never see again. I don't think.
I mean, yeah, like another.
You do a little bit, but not much.
I watched a video. Yeah. I think kind of like an in-between period of that was a lot of the Call of Duty mobile games, or not mobile, handheld games. I watched a video about that recently, and it was wild to see like it's like we're kind of similar, but we're also not, and it's so fascinating to see like that in between of like and it's like it's just so silly. Like I mean, you just think about Call of Duty, any of them in the last like 5 years, and it's like let's do a mobile version. Like no one would mobile or handheld. No one would be like that's gonna do well. I'm gonna pump money into that. It's just it's definitely not a thing, and in some ways it makes me definitely sad.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
With Suicide Squad, it was a really good film. Like I was surprised how much I enjoyed it and how much I enjoyed being in the theater again. Even though I've been in the theater now twice. I saw Black Widow. I have to see every comic book movie, so I'll be in theaters for all those. But I was really surprised Suicide Squad, and I never would have thought in a million years we get Starro on frickin' big screen. So close to that.
It was something.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it makes me excited to see where things are going to go eventually with the DC. Like, I want to see them do more movies, and I'd like to see them eventually do Justice League again, but do it right. Except Zack Snyder's Justice League, the 4-hour cut, is actually a good film.
I haven't seen it, but that's why. I mean, it's going to be important for DC. Like they need to get and keep these talented directors. You know, it's like, as long as you can have James Gunn making your movies, then they're probably going to be good. But
I also think we would have never gotten Suicide Squad if he wouldn't have gotten fired from Disney for that little bit over a stupid tweet that was from a long time. I mean, the tweets are bad. I don't want to defend and say the tweets bad. My issue with it wasn't that Disney was aware of the things he said and did, those over 10 years ago, and it was only because trolls went and brought it up to the president. We're like, oh, okay, we gotta fire him now, and they were trolled by trolls, and then it was a big joke. Oh, look, we can make Disney fire people. Like,
it was all done in bad faith from the get go.
It wasn't like he said something offensive recently, and then people were like, okay, how dare you say this? Like, like the situation like Gina Carlito, where she said things she shouldn't have said. Whether or not you agree with it, I don't. But don't get political when you work for a giant. Like, even me.
No, it was a bonehead move. Like,
it's just stupid. Like, even then, I'm careful with some of the things I say, and like I'm I'm nobody. I'm a nobody. I'm not a big superstar or anything. But even when it comes to something like this, I'm careful not to say real bad things. Like, I don't think that way. But two, I'm not gonna put that stuff out there where people go, oh, look what this guy said.
Mm-hmm.
Even on Facebook, I'm careful when I say certain things. Like, it's just when you're that famous, you have to be smarter than that.
Oh yeah, and that's the problem. Is a lot of times it is so old. It was whatever it was 10 years ago, and even then that actor was still pretty famous. But the targeted attack was just like that was what it was initially, and there were people afterwards who heard about it and then had their genuine strong opinions, and those are still valid. But the initial like, oh, we're gonna do this and bring this to light and make it huge was not. I doubt there were many people in that like part of that movement who were like, yeah, I'm really bothered by this.
And also the thing about it that got that started was he had tweeted political thoughts which were against Trump, and then right after that happened, that's when all the old tweets got dug up. So say what you will on that, but it
was all done in bad faith. It was not a legitimate.
It was done to hurt him for saying things against a president. So, and people who followed that guy had to go and like, it's not. Yeah, and Disney should have never fell for it. But that's. Oh, they were. I'm trying to find. I can't find out when the tweets were from, but I'm pretty sure it was 10 years before the time it happened or something. They were old ass tweets.
About that long, for my
2009.
Yeah, like people all grow. I know. In 2009, again, I was in high school, but I was a terrible person, and that's the beauty of life. Is you get older and you get better and you learn about yourself and you learn about the world and
And he deleted all these tweets too. I mean, this all came out in 2018, and it's just like. I mean, I have said stupid shit too, but I am not the same person that I was in 2009.
Yeah, and there was no part of the whole event that I feel like he fumbled anything. Like he never was like, oh well, there may have been some good points back then, but I'm not. He never even said anything like that. That like I think made it worth what happened. But as you said, as unfortunate as it was, and we never would have saw it coming, we did get good out of it. Got this cool movie.
Yeah, and we're getting Guardians 3 again.
Yeah, that was nice. I was happy that the crew was really behind him on that. That was nice to see that they were like, "Hey, no."
And I'm all for shitty people getting fired from stuff like that. I have but when it's something like that old, especially something that the company that hired you was aware of, you can't go and fire somebody for something that happened 10 years ago when you were aware of this when you hired them. Like the background check that Disney must do for something of this nature. Like they were well aware of things that were said in 2009.
Yeah, I mean, we can hold people accountable while also not falling for basically, right-wing targeted bad faith attacks.
And I think it's funny when you Google it, that's the first thing that comes up is why that happened. And I'm like, It's not just like it was, it was because he said stuff and people crazy.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair, I think.
I would say more, but I don't want to get too political on the show. I try not to.
That's my mom found.
I try not. I just try not to go. But all right, I think that's all that I need to say. Any last things you guys want to say before we go to before I wrap this up?
Jack,
no, I'm pretty content myself over here.
I got to plug my favorite games. I think I'm good.
Got to throw out Game Pass. Again, not for everybody, but God, it's really hard to argue against that.
No, it sounds wonderful. If I played new games or if I played games that weren't on a podcast all the time, I would check out Game Pass.
Exactly. I had a friend who tried it for a while, and he's like, these games just aren't my thing, and it's just, I'm not using it that much. I'm like, that's totally valid. But then he was also like, but it's a really good value if you use it. I'm like, exactly. I think it
effectively banished my PlayStation. I mean, and I'm a PS guy, but it's a good deal. It really is.
Okay. All right, so if you enjoyed this episode, we do one What Are You Playing every month. Go check those out. And we do comics, we do games, we do movies, we do lots of episodes. So definitely go check out all our huge catalog. You're bound to find something that you like, I'm sure. And we covered some of the stuff we talked about today is on the show. So if we go check that out, I've been constantly plugging. And also want to give a shout out to our awesome buddy, Bill Tucker, who is my co-host with the MCU movies that we're almost done with at the time you're hearing this. Almost finished.
Oh,
And he started his own podcast, A Gamer Looks at 40. So definitely go check him out, give him a listen. It's a much different show than this. It's much more edited, more better, and he does interviews, and he does a very good quality show. I throw things against the wall and see what sticks. So much different show. Definitely check him out. And I want to give a shout out to our awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Balby, aka Mice Tony from CP Bite the Bullet, Song of the Cool Kid Squad. You will see a link in the show notes to his YouTube channel. Definitely go check him out. And if you enjoy Games on Marathon, you can check out our Patreon. We do a monthly poll. You can definitely help us out with that and vote. Only for as little as a dollar, you help support the show. You get to vote in our poll, and right now we have a tie with what's going on for our 2 anime pilot tests, what we're going to first cover. So go check that out. And for a little dollar, you can go vote. I should have put that at the top of the episode, but I forgot to. So definitely go check that out. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube. And that's all I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
thanks for having us.
Yep, it was great. Thanks, guys.